Strength and power are often associated with size, yet throughout history, athletes who are small in stature have displayed tremendous power and nearly unbelievable strength. A prime example of this is 1980s boxing superstar Ray Boom Boom Mancini, a man whose power was so legendary that at a height of only 5 feet 4 inches and weighing only 135 pounds, he routinely had to spar heavyweights in order to avoid consistently knocking out his training partners. A more recent example is the incredibly strong school teacher and British weightlifting champion Jaswant Shergill, who at a body weight of only 67 kilograms on a rather thin frame was able to lift an incredibly impressive 155 kilograms overhead in 2023. So how are such extraordinary feats of power and strength possible without a correspondingly large physique? Strength is built primarily by one of two mechanisms. The first is the one everybody immediately thinks about, changing the mechanical strength of the muscle fibers themselves. This type of strength training is seen in most strength training methods and results in increases in the actual size and strength of the muscle fibers that make up the muscles being trained. The second mechanism is much less talked about, but no less important, and it is known as neuromuscular efficiency. Strength and power gains stemming from this mechanism are not due to the strength of the muscle fibers, but are instead created by the highly efficient use of the nervous system that controls those muscle fibers. Effective neuromuscular strength means that your nervous system can recruit high levels of muscle fibers while also ensuring that the fibers selected are the most appropriate and efficient for the movement patterns being used. On top of this, there is a far more effective synchronization of efforts between the primary muscular movers and the supplementary muscles responsible for stabilizing and assisting the body during strength production. There are many training modalities with the potential to greatly increase neuromuscular strength and efficiency. But today we're going to focus on what amounts to a gamification of the effect, known as greasing the groove. This is a term coined by kettlebell guru Pavel Tsatsuoline and has been used to great effect in both kettlebell and calisthenics circles for decades now. However, its use is certainly not limited to these modalities and is equally effective for all strength-based movement patterns. The idea behind the method is that while muscular gains are elicited from the breakdown and subsequent repair of muscle fibers from exercise, neuromuscular adaptation is best created from high repetition. The more experience the nervous system has with a movement, the stronger the neural pathways which produce that movement become, and the more opportunities the individual has to develop skill within that movement pattern. However, there is a problem with just cranking out endless repetitions. After a short while, the muscles and nervous system fatigue and the quality of each repetition begins to diminish, causing poor quality neuromuscular habits to form. Also, once the muscles are fatigued and broken down, you must wait until they recover, often days later, in order to continue training, thereby decreasing the total repetitions you can perform. To solve for these limitations, the greasing the groove technique has you perform a small amount of repetitions at a time, almost always 5 or less, and at an intensity level that's easier for you to manage, often anywhere between 35 and 70% of your 1 rep max. This is then repeated at multiple intervals throughout the day, and anywhere between 4 and 6 days a week. This allows you to get a high number of total repetitions throughout the day without fatiguing the muscles and while keeping the quality of the repetitions very high. The results are often dramatic strength or strength endurance gains in a relatively short period of time. A classically utilized example of this is with pull-ups. It is common for people to see the consecutive number of pull-ups they are able to perform nearly double, often only after 8 to 12 weeks. There are 2 primary schools of thought about how to structure the use of this technique. The first is to have it all planned out. For example, maybe 3 reps at a time, 5 days a week for the first week, then add a rep each week until you get to 5 reps. At this point, you can increase the weight of the exercise and drop the reps back down to 3 again. The other school of thought is to go by more of an intuitive approach, and to do only what you feel you can do each day. This is to ensure that you at no point overtrain yourself into soreness or fatigue. I've also seen other people turn this into a game. In fact, my first introduction to the technique was from my cousin back in college. He had put a pull-up bar in the doorway of his bedroom, and every time he walked through the bedroom door, he would do 2 pull-ups as perfectly as he could. By the end of each day, he would easily rack up between 15 and 20 high-quality pull-ups and felt virtually no fatigue from the effort. However you choose to utilize this technique, keep these rough guidelines in mind. 1. Never use this technique on more than 2 movement patterns at a time. 2. Whichever muscle group you're targeting the most with this technique, take out of your normal exercise routine until your Grease the Groove program runs its course. For instance, if greasing the groove with pull-ups for 8 weeks, during that time, keep the lats fresh by not doing any pull-downs or pull-overs. 3. Stay mindful of your form and make sure each repetition is as high quality as possible. You don't want to develop strong neural pathways with poor exercise form. This is very hard to undo later on. If you've ever tried this technique, let us know what kind of results you had and if you have any other tips that you can provide the community in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the content, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to be notified of future content. Good luck with your training, and until next time, keep moving, my friends.